Welcome to Inspire and Move, the show that inspires you to create, connect, and grow. I'm going to bring you meaningful conversations, aha moments, and all the motivation you need to up-level every part of your life. I'm Ali Aruda, founder of Inspire and Move, and your personal hype girl. I've gone from fashion school to celebrity stylist to corporate marketing to brick-and-mortar entrepreneurship with my husband, each time learning incredible lessons how to pivot, reimagine, and implement the steps to become successful. I'm passionate about inspiring others to live their best life, a life of joy. We have the power to design a life that we love, because life is too short not to. The best part is that you weren't meant to do this alone. If you feel like you are meant for more, let me ride shotgun with you, and together, let's get you to where you want to go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Inspire and Move podcast. It is your girl, Ali Aruda, and we are back for another solo quickie today. And today's episode actually was just inspired, literally right now, as I was going through some old reels of mine. I am a big lover of recycling content, or should I say upcycling content, something that I have learned through the masterminds that Matt and I have been in this past year. We, as many of you know, we coach within the Mentor Collective Mastermind. That is Chris and Lori Harder's mastermind for business owners making $500K or less. But Matt and I are also invested as members into Chris and Lori's Elite Mastermind for businesses making $500K or more. And content is a massive pillar of what we talk about in both of these masterminds. And earlier this year at our in-person Elite Mastermind event, we heard from Brock Johnson, who is a Instagram wizard, and he was really talking about content recycling. So though this episode is not about content and content recycling, it's where the inspiration for today's episode came from. And particularly, I was watching a piece of content that I put together with a bunch of workout videos surrounding my personal growth journey that has come out of grief and loss. Grief and loss are a really big part of my story. And as I'm recording this, it's the week before Christmas. And as someone who has lost a fair bit of people in my life, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's like, I didn't intend for this to be an emotional episode, but it's very raw. I didn't intend for this to be the message, but I'm really trying to lean into very transparent, vulnerable, honest episodes, at least when they are solo, myself, to share with all of you. And the week before Christmas, as someone who has experienced grief and loss, it can be really hard. And I'm thinking of people that I know who have also recently lost someone special. And the person I wanted to dedicate this podcast episode to is all of you that are high achievers. So if you are someone that is listening to this, you are also probably someone who sets big goals and you hold yourself to a high standard and you're always looking ahead to what's next. And it can be so easy for us, and I'm putting myself in the same bucket along with you, it can be so easy for us to sit in that momentum and lose track of our growth. And again, especially if you are someone that also has experienced traumatic and significant grief and loss, then kudos to you for hopping on that momentum train and moving forward. But as we come to the end of the year, this is what I want to talk to you about. So I'm just going to collect myself here because this is not supposed to be an emotional episode. But it just kind of dawned on me that, oh my gosh, it's the week before Christmas. And this can be really hard for many of us that have experienced grief and loss. So sending you so much love if that is you. But getting back to my message that as we come to the end of the year, this is what I want to be really real with you. The high achiever that you are, you always keep moving forward. And if you're anything like me, like you're recognizing like, oh my gosh, it's almost the end of the year. And I know what my big goal was this year. And I really want to hit that goal. So I want to keep working and being in momentum and moving things forward and looking for those small pockets of revenue that I can bring in to finish strong for the end of the year, or whatever your goals for 2025 have been that you want to ensure that you are achieving as we close out the year. But it can be so easy for us to not take the time, let alone prioritize the time, to notice how far you've already come. And if I'm being honest, you're probably doing better than you think. We high achievers, we are so good at growth. We are good at momentum. We're good at seeing opportunity. We're good at taking action, but we are not always good at recognizing it. Do you feel me? Is this resonating? I know we're just getting started here, but this is what happens when you are someone who is constantly evolving and constantly wants to evolve. I think that's also a very important thing to look at here, because some people are actually very cool with just like riding at a good plateau wave. I was actually talking about this last night with our videographer, Matt. I think there are some people, and we do need those people that are just content to do X, Y, or Z jobs. And that is great for them. And then they can do their job, and then they can go home and they carry no stress with them. They have no responsibility for, maybe bottom line revenue and how the business is growing. But we do need people like that. And so if you are someone like that, amazing. And if you are someone who is more of that high achiever and you always want to evolve, amazing. Growth starts to become normal for us. And dare I say expected? Certainly I expect that of myself. I want to grow and evolve every single year. And I am so grateful that I have a lot of friends that I'm confident to say that they are the same way. And that, I think, is another whole topic in conversation, is about surrounding yourself with those high achievers and surrounding yourself with people that are more successful than you, that are further along in their journey than you, because those conversations are going to be different. You're going to have a different conversation around money. You're going to have a different conversation about opportunity, about networking, and really like quality of life. But that is something that you want to look at and forecast for 2026. Write those people down. I just told Matt yesterday, someone that is on my I want to be friends with them list. And you guys, I have a pretty good track record of writing people down who I want to be friends with or be in business with or collaborate with. And I have some new sites. So this one woman, man, she is a top performer. I love her content. I love her podcast, her book. She has 2 books actually. So I'm really excited to meet her maybe next year. Who knows? But maybe write down, like, who is it that you want to call in? Who do you want to be friends with? And really focused on like what that growth looks like, because maybe it is in a different way. Because growth doesn't always come from being like a big number. And when it comes to revenue or a big loud win or a more impressive milestone, sometimes it could look like calling in new friends, or maybe more things like responding versus reacting, or setting boundaries you didn't necessarily have the courage to set before. This one speaks to me. This is, again, like me just being so real and honest with you guys, but some of the messaging that I include in these solo episodes is also for me to take action on myself. But walking away from things that you used to tolerate, that's another good one. Making decisions faster, maybe better. And that's one thing that I actually am quite proud of myself, and just toot my own horn here, is that I have, in my 6.5 years of being an entrepreneur and owning a brick and mortar business, I am becoming quicker and more confident in making decisions, because I'm a Capricorn. So sometimes I am very indecisive. Like, you give me a big menu when I go out for dinner, I'm going to need at least 20 minutes. I'm going to need to, have maybe a top 5, then a top 3. I'm going to need to ask the server. Even with wines, I'm going to need to try these 2 or 3 to see what I like. So there's a whole other side of Allie that is not good with decisions. But Entrepreneur Allie, I have absolutely grown into this, and I'm going to celebrate that right here, right now, with all of you listening and watching, that I can feel proud of that I am getting better at making decisions as an entrepreneur. And I probably do trust myself more. But there's absolutely another layer to that I need to grow into, and something that Matt and I have been talking about a lot in our household, the 2 of us, for what that looks like in 2026 as business owners with a team. And maybe you need less validation from others. And this can be really hard to work through. It's a process, but feeling really confident in your decisions, in how you've designed your business, how you've built your team. And again, it's conducive to whether you have a big team, small team, are you a solopreneur, but just not needing validation from others, because people will talk, whether it's in person or online, whether it's, talking about you in a loving way, maybe they talk about you in a troll way, that will always be around. And you want to be so confident. You want to just be this like beautiful butterfly that grows in your confidence and how you feel in building your business and celebrating your growth. And sometimes you want to celebrate loudly. Sometimes maybe you want to celebrate quietly, but if you do it quietly, sometimes you might forget to acknowledge it and count it towards the wins that you are stacking and the growth that you are achieving, because that is important. So let's just slow down for a second. And hey, if you are listening to this and you have an opportunity to like take some notes, whether it's in your phone or on your journal, then please give yourself that permission. But let's just slow it down for a moment and think about what comes up for you when I ask you this. And I want you to ask yourself this. What feels easier for me now than it did at the start of the year? So again, I'm recording this end of 2025. Let's close our eyes and think back to January 2025. And was there something then that felt really scary, really challenging? And is there something now that feels easier for you? What have you handled this year that might have completely overwhelmed you in the past, or a past version of yourself? Where are you more confident? And where have your goals gotten even bigger? And I actually am thinking some of my friends and coaching clients, one of who I was chatting with this morning at Benchmark. And sometimes I just think to myself, I'm like, oh, I'm just so proud of her. Like these things that I can see that she has achieved in the year. And if you can think of that for yourself as well, please give yourself that win. Give yourself that recognition and acknowledgement. So where have you been? We're confident. And how have your goals gotten bigger? And oh my gosh, if this feels good for you to DM me and share some of this, I would love that. I love when you guys DM me about episodes that have resonated with you. And so if you are listening to this and you are really feeling these questions, please share them with me if you are comfortable doing so. Okay, and the final thing I want you to think about, what version of yourself would your past self be proud of? So you don't need perfect answers. I would love them to be honest. So let's do a little recap. And I feel like I should maybe put these in the show notes just so it's again, I'm a visual girl, so it's nice for me to be able to see things. So these are the things that I want you to think about. What feels easier for you now than it did at the start of this year? What have you handled this year that maybe once would have completely overwhelmed a past version of you? Where are you more confident? And where have your goals gotten even bigger? And then finally, what version of yourself would your past self be proud of? So come back to those. Okay, so here's the part where I feel like most people skip. Recognizing your growth isn't about getting comfortable or settling. It's about integration. If you never pause to acknowledge how far you've come, your nervous system, which, by the way, there's an amazing episode, part 1 and part 2, with Liv about your nervous system. I'll actually link that in the show notes as well. And I love that I've just called her Liv as if you all know that. So I'm going to link it in the show notes. But if you never acknowledge, if you never take that pause and recognize how far you've come and acknowledge that for yourself, your nervous system is going to get the signal that it's safe to rest, even briefly. And you want to avoid burnout sneaking in, which again, Allie, please note what you're talking about. Not because you aren't capable, but because you're never letting yourself just arrive. And momentum doesn't come from just constantly pushing and taking action. This kind of comes back to the idea of what we just said about integration. It comes from knowing and recognizing that you're building on solid ground. Do you need systems in place? Do you need a team in place? What are your processes, your messaging, all of these things? So as we close out this year, this is where I want to go with this. As we close out this year and this year comes to an end, I don't want you to just focus on what are your New Year's plans or what's your word for 2026. I want you to, before you get there, I want you to ask yourself, what is it that you need to or want to have next year look like? And you know what? Before that, new thought. I don't want you to just think about what it is that you need to fix, prove, or achieve. Before you do any of that forward thinking for 2026, I want you to be able to pause and reflect on this year, going back to who it is that you are and what have you done this year? Who did you become? Who are you now that maybe you weren't before, whether it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or maybe just even in January versus now? Because it's not always about where you're going. Growth is not about where you're going all of the time. It is also celebrating and honoring who you have had to be and who you have had to become to get here right now. And this goes back to what I said at the very beginning. I was watching one of my reels from a couple months ago. They're specific to my fitness journey, rooted in grief and loss. That is such a big why for me. And I was telling someone this last night. We hosted our benchmark client Christmas party, and I gave him a high level recap of like my professional journey, which I feel like I kind of want to share on the podcast again. I think I might have recorded that in my first 10 episodes. And there are many of you that are new here that maybe don't know my story, but I have a really cool kind of colorful past of what kind of careers I had before entrepreneurship. And everything along the way was rooted in my passion for fitness, because my passion for fitness, where that came from, was dealing with the loss of my brother when I was just 18, and dealing with the loss, I think, in a healthy way of being able to challenge or channel my emotions through exercise in a very healthy way. And that has been true for all of these years since I was 18. Oh my gosh, that's 20 years. Yeah. Wow. Awareness, self-awareness. And then when I lost my dad a couple of years ago, same thing. I still had to prioritize movement and exercise because it's been so important for me to regulate my emotions and my like deep emotions of grief and loss. And I'm so proud of myself of who I've become in this road that has had trauma in it. And in that road, I chose to become an entrepreneur and open a brick and mortar business and have a team and do additional things. And I'm very much a high achiever. That is my Enneagram, achiever, because I love to do things. I love to be in momentum. I love to see these things happen, but I can be so guilty. And I'm sure as friends, I'm talking to you, if you're listening and watching, and you can identify with this, that it can be so easy for us to skip the acknowledgement part and honoring ourselves. And so to put a bow on this and wrap things up, I want you to today, even if it's just a few minutes, recognize yourself, honor yourself, celebrate yourself. Because if you don't, I mean, I'm sure there are people that will, but I want you to do that for yourself because it's, I think, more challenging that way. And honor who you are, how you have gotten here, what you've achieved, who you've supported, whether that's people in your business, people in your family, people in your community. Because man, you are still here. You are showing up day after day, and you are growing, and that matters more than you think. So I am sending you so much love as we close out 2025. And I really want you to take that time to honor yourself, recognize yourself, and celebrate yourself. And get ready for the year of the horse in 2026 and what that has in store for you. So as always, thank you so much for being here, for listening and supporting and sharing the Inspire and Move podcast. As I said, I love getting DMs from you about what has resonated and just connecting with you all. And if you have a few moments and you would love to share some love and leave a 5-star rating and review, I would be so grateful. And again, we're going to pop some details in the show notes with those self-questions that I shared on this episode. I would love for you to take time to journal on them. And again, if you want to share them, I'm here. Sending you so much love, and we will see you again soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this episode, it would mean so much to me if you took a few seconds and shared this on social media, sent it to a friend, or left a 5-star review. There is power in community, and I'm so grateful to have you part of mine.